Have you ever wanted to learn how to read tarot cards for yourself or others? Well, I'm going to tell you a little bit about my experience and give you 3 steps to get you started.
Hi, I'm Alexandra, and I'm excited to empower you to embody your electric radiance. Join me as we explore spiritual and metaphysical topics that will spark your third eye open and connect you to the universe.
So I've actually been reading cards since I was 11. Yes, 11 years old. My mom had enrolled in a tarot card class, like how to read tarot cards, from a woman who was teaching out of her home in the evenings. She was Rosicrucian and she taught very traditional method. My dad worked nights, so my mom brought me along. I was supposed to be doing homework, which I also did my homework, but I also learned how to read cards. So how long have you been reading cards, if at all? If you're just getting started, let me know in the comments below. If you have spent some time reading cards, let me know when you got started, how you got started. I want to hear your story. My first step to getting started is get a tarot deck. I started with this deck, which is a vintage deck. It's really an old school university books. This is from the early 60s. From what I understand, this is actually a pretty rare deck with the Fool on the cover of this deck, and it has an ankh on them. This is one of my mom's decks from back in the day, and this is the traditional rider-waite deck. So if you get started, I do recommend going with the traditional rider-waite deck. The artwork was actually done by Pamela Colman Smith, as directed by Arthur Edward Waite, and I think like in 1909. So these are pretty old school, but tarot has been around for hundreds of years. A lot of scholars say that tarot has actually been read for over 2,000 years. What the original cards looked like, I'm not sure, but that's for another video, the history of tarot. There is a lot of symbology in these cards, and it's good to learn with a traditional deck. If you can go into like a metaphysical shop and find a deck that you're really drawn to, or if you want to order one, I actually recently ordered this deck. This is a version of the rider-waite. It's called the smith-waite because they're paying homage to Pamela Colman Smith, who was the artist of these cards. So this is the same artwork that I just showed you in the other deck. These are borderless, so I really love these. And they kind of have even a vintage feel with the colors. They're they're not as vibrant. So, and I just think they're really beautiful. They kind of have almost like a sepia tone over top. As I was learning, of course, I grew out of the traditional rider-waite deck. It doesn't mean I never read them, but I found some other decks I liked, and I explored a lot of witchcraft and paganism in my teen years, so I picked these up in my teens. This is the Witch's Tarot. A friend of mine recently said that these are actually pretty rare to find. They're out of print, so that's interesting. Of course, they have the pentagram on the back, but some different artwork. And so as you start reading different cards, you're going to see different artwork in different decks. And you do want to eventually go to a deck that you feel good with, that you feel drawn to. I'm also an actor, for those of you who don't know me. And so I have this Shakespeare Oracle. Let's see, this one is The Lovers, Romeo and Juliet. So that's fitting, of course. And then I also have this beautiful Goddess Tarot deck. So you just have to kind of find what you connect with. Here's one that's a goddess, Kuan Yin. But I also read Maltese wish cards, which I learned from my sister Colleen, who learned from a family friend. And those are actually playing cards, so that's a totally different method, but another form of divination. And recently I've branched out into oracle cards. I always kind of pushed oracle cards away for a while because I didn't really connect with them. But I was in this shop a little over a month ago, and this deck was just calling to me. So that's one way to find your deck, is it will just call to you, and I couldn't take my eyes off of it, and I kept looking at it, and I went around the shop, and then I looked at it again, and I was like, really got to get this deck. So I found these Beyond Lemuria cards, and the artwork is really beautiful. They kind of have a starseed quality to them. So I really like that. And I've been pulling some really beautiful messages from these. And then I also got these from the KABBALAH Center in Los Angeles. And if you don't know about KABBALAH, you can watch my KABBALAH video. I think we'll add a link somewhere here, or maybe just in the comments below. And these are really beautiful. These are the 72 names of God, and they have Hebrew letters and a little meditation, and it's really nice to pull a message from these as well. So don't feel like you have to stay strict with just reading tarot, although I do suggest starting with tarot. As you find your deck, what I recommend for step 2, I recommend pulling one card a day for yourself. Spend some time shuffling your deck. Just see what comes up. Ask a question for yourself before you start reading for others. You want to familiarize yourself with the cards. If you want to become a good tarot reader, you want to learn all of your cards. So start by just pulling a card a day, like whatever comes up. And here I've got the Page of Pentacles. Now, every deck comes with its own little guidebook, and you can certainly start with that. And there's a lot of other books on tarot out there, or you can Google it, I'm sure, like everywhere. But each deck will come with its own guidebook, and some are very extensive and some are really tiny and just give you some basic ideas. But no matter what, I would look at what the guidebook is telling you, because each deck has its own artistry, its own symbology. So first read what the guidebook is telling you. And actually, I brought this out because we even have the original little guidebook in this vintage deck, which is just amazing. So I just want to kind of give you an example of the difference. So like here we are, Pentacles, and of course, you know, Pentacles represent money and wealth. But the Page of Pentacles, it says application, study, scholarship, reflection. Another reading says news, messages, and the bringer thereof. Also rule, management. And then it has what it says if you pull this reversed. I'm not going to go into that in this video. But so start with these basic methods, and you know, it's kind of saying like study, scholarship, and stuff like that. But then go further than that. Go further than what this guidebook is telling you. So that's step number 3. So let's see, let me review. Step number 1 is get a deck. Step number 2 is start pulling cards for yourself and start reading the guidebook. Okay, and I suggest one at a time. And step number 3 is start figuring these cards out for yourself. I suggest keeping a journal. You don't have to, not everyone's into keeping a journal, but it may be a good way to just kind of get your thoughts out about the card. But really look at this card and what is it telling you? What is this yellow background telling you? What is the fact that this Page of Pentacles is holding this pentacle up high at the level of his head? What does that mean to you? Is that where they're getting the intellectual scholarship from this? Is that that's at the level of his head? You have to start looking into the deeper meaning behind the symbology of the cards. There's some trees in the background. I think this is a mountain in the background. I'm not sure. And then, you know, he's standing on this grass area, but it kind of looks almost like, I guess those are flowers. You have to start to see what is in this card. Why is he wearing green? Why does he have a red hat on? What does all this mean? And you have to discover that for yourself and what the deeper meaning is, but then go beyond this. So I guess maybe there's a bonus step 4 here. So number 3 is really look at this card and start to decipher the symbology for yourself. right? Write it out. I suggest writing it out. And step number 4 is pull in your intuition. Connect to the spirit realm. Connect to what this card is really telling you spirit-wise. Because when you start to pull cards for people and for yourself, try and tap in to the bigger message. Why did this card come to you? What does it mean in relationship to you? What does this mean in relationship to the person you're reading for? So even though there's some basic meanings behind each card will have a specific meaning to a specific person. If you want to learn more, I'm going to be doing a free masterclass in my group, Electric Radiance Enlightenment, coming up soon. I'll put the details in the notes below. Thank you so much for joining me today. If you liked this video, go ahead and give it a thumbs up, share it with a friend, and if you love this kind of content, please subscribe. I'd love to see you next time.